We are talking about why it is so hard to change our sleep habits. This is one of those topics that I think is incredibly vital for any behavior change. Here specifically, we're talking about sleep. And behavior change and changing your habits is very, very challenging. I've been working with people over 20 years. I've been working as a therapist over 18. I have worked with people in all stages of life, trying to change many different behaviors, sleep, addiction, interpersonal relationships, all kinds of things. And it's hard across the board. But when we talk about sleep, it's even harder. There are a lot of factors that come into play with sleep. Sleep is a survival function. If you don't sleep for long enough, you will die. Same as drinking water, eating food. It is a survival function. So when you are going to sleep at night, you're already on high alert, especially if you are in a lot of behaviors and habits and things like that that are impacting your sleep negatively. And every single person who struggles with sleep, yes, has behaviors, yes, has habits that are deeply ingrained that they have been doing for a very long time. When I talk to you guys about how long you've been struggling with sleep, it's not like 4 days. It's been years. And for some of you, it's been a lifetime. So you have a lifetime of bad habits, ineffective habits that you've built up that you are in the habit, in the cycle of just repeating. So to give you an example of that, let's say going to bed being an overthinker. This is one that I hear about from people all the time. It's literally like everybody that I work with. You go to bed, you're already a little bit stressed. Oh my gosh, am I going to get a bad night of sleep? Oh my gosh, how's this going to go? I have such a busy day tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you're thinking, you go into bed, you're already on high alert. We know based on what we learned about the nervous system, what is happening in our brain, okay? We go to sleep, the chatter's happening, our nervous system is jacked, our amygdala, our limbic system is jacked. We are highly stimulated, highly aroused. We're not going to be able to sleep. So we don't sleep, we get more frustrated. Cycle continues, you have a bad night of sleep. You wake up the next day, you're tired, you're frustrated, you go to bed thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to get a bad night of sleep? You're highly aroused, highly stimulated, and the cycle just continues over and over. I know that you guys have been doing this for a lifetime. When you think about that, let's say you've been doing it for 5 years. That's actually a minimum based on the people I've talked to. You've been doing this stuff for 5 years. When you go to bed and you try to start a new habit, of course that's going to be difficult. You've practiced bad habits and ineffective habits over and over and over and over and over. And so even if you know, you're like, oh my gosh, this girl, Melissa, she has training, she has experience, she's been trained in sleep science for behaviors and habits. I should probably try this. Like there's evidence that it's going to work. It still feels really, really scary. And it still feels very threatening to your nervous system, very threatening to your brain, very threatening to your body. And it's a lot easier to just do those things that you have always done than to do the new thing that feels really scary. It is not simple. You know that I have worked with people, like I said, for over 20 years. I literally was just talking to somebody that is working through something hard. It's not sleep related, but it's something else that's hard. And they were like, I wish I could just seriously get a lobotomy. I wish I could just do something and just have this issue be gone. And that's what everybody wishes for, right? We could just find like the easy solution. That's why supplements and medications are such a nice option, because it's like, I literally don't have to change my habits. All I have to do is pop a pill, take a drink of water, go to bed, and miraculously all my problems are solved. And sometimes those work. You know, there's people who have really effective results from those types of things. But a lot of the time, it's those deeply ingrained habits and behaviors that have to change. And that is hard work. So sleep is a survival mechanism. So number one, when you go to sleep, your brain is already telling you, like, I really, really need sleep. Sleep is very important. It's really hard to calm down and relax when you're not getting good sleep. At nighttime, a lot of overthinking actually happens, not just about sleep, but about everything. Think about it. You're going through your day, you're working, you're busy, you're taking care of your kids, you're taking care of your life. And then all of a sudden, the first time you actually have to relax and think about things is at night when you lay your head down on the pillow. And then all of a sudden your brain is just busy. That is not helpful when it comes to sleep. That's why I teach things like nighttime routines. Setting up some time to get those thoughts out of your head before you go to sleep is really, really good. Because if it's the first time that you can relax all day, your nervous system is going to become activated. Your mind is going to become busy. And it is really, really difficult to engage in a new behavior when all those systems are at play and they're really worked up, it's really hard to make a behavior change. It actually feels pretty impossible until you get some of those things in check. Another factor about why it's hard is a lot of people have tried things before and it hasn't worked. I hear that all the time. I've done this before, it hasn't worked. I've done this before, it hasn't worked. That's pretty common when you're looking at changing a hard behavior. That's not something that is very special. If you talk to anybody who has tried to change their sleep, has tried to start an exercise routine, has tried new parenting strategies, has tried to improve their romantic connections and relationships, a lot of the times they have tried things and they haven't worked. That's part of behavior change. If that's your excuse, like, oh my gosh, I've tried something before and it hasn't worked, I know it's hard, but that doesn't mean that something is not going to work. It just means maybe you have tried things that haven't worked. Maybe you've tried some things and you haven't done them long enough that they have worked. It is very common when you're trying to change a behavior that you've tried things and they haven't worked. Like literally, I think every person I've ever talked to in my entire life, in my entire career has had that happen. But that can make it really frustrating. That can make it even harder to keep trying. That is where people sometimes want to just give up. They're like, you know what? I've tried things before. It hasn't worked. I'm just a bad sleeper. I'm just going to sleep really, really bad for the rest of my life, which is not going to be the case. If you find effective strategies and you do them, science shows that they're going to work. They've worked for me. They've worked for other people I've worked with. But they're never going to work if you don't do them. I worked with a really good therapist earlier in my career. We actually were going to grad school together and we were working in a detox center together as counselors. And he had the best saying. And he was like, you can wish in one hand and you can, he said, you can shit in the other and see which one fills up first. Basically saying wishes without action, hopes and dreams and planning without action is useless because you can't change anything. You can have the best of intentions. You can have these beautiful planners where you write out all your thoughts and feelings and emotions and you come up with a beautiful plan. But if there's no action, it's never going to change. That's not how change works. We don't just think about things and then they magically get better. So there has to be some action on that. But there's a lot of factors as you're learning that make it really, really hard to actually follow through with those actions, especially when it comes to sleep, because there's so many other factors going on with sleep. Trying harder is actually a stressor. How many times have you ever tried something? Maybe you've gone to bed and you're just like, oh, can I just go to sleep? Oh, why isn't this working? I'm trying to relax. And like, clearly, like you're not relaxed at all. Sometimes trying really hard can activate that limbic system, that amygdala, that nervous system, and it can get it all jacked up. You want to be able to pair nervous system regulation with strategies that work long enough that you actually have a chance to do them and do them effectively so that they can work. Because if you're trying something and you're just like so stressed about it, it's going to be counterproductive. When I was struggling with my sleep, and this was before I got any specialized training in sleep, this was before I put myself through a program that I developed. But when I was struggling with my sleep, I could not find help. And I got so frustrated. I bought this really old book on sleep science from this Harvard doctor and built a program for myself and did it for 6 months. And it was hard. And I didn't realize I did it for 6 months until I went back and looked at my notes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did this for a long time. But it helped improve my sleep so much. But during that time, sometimes often I would go to bed very, very stressed, already thinking I'm going to get a bad night of sleep. I have to get up. At that time, I was getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I wasn't going to bed that early either, which was another factor. I would go to bed so stressed and my nervous system was jacked up. And as soon as I let go of that and I was like, you know what, whatever, I don't even care if I sleep, you know what would happen? I'd be like waking up to my alarm the next day. It was so crazy. So it's like when you let go of that trying so hard, paired with strategies that work, it can be really effective. And that again is reducing that stress, reducing that overstimulation and that arousal at bedtime. Another thing with this is it does really challenge your identity to change your behaviors. This is something that I explore a lot with people in therapy. Is like, what are you getting out of this to be a bad sleeper? And you're probably like, nothing, my life sucks. It's so terrible because I sleep poorly. But there are always things that you are getting out of things if you're a bad sleeper. So maybe if you're sleeping poorly, you really enjoy complaining about it the next day. Maybe it gets you out of things. Maybe you get to cancel things. Maybe you get to, instead of like going to the gym after work or going to the gym in the morning, you get to stay in your bed and avoid that. There are often things, if we really look at it, that are rewards inside of these things that really aren't working. If I can't sleep well, are there things that are actually rewarding that I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even consider that? And this kind of stuff might be reinforcing the stress cycle. It really challenges your identity to make a behavior change, because if you have these hidden rewards inside of these behavior cycles, if you change your behavior, those rewards go away. It changes who you are. It changes how you function in the world. It changes your relationships with people. What's it going to look like if you show up to work well rested? Is that going to change? Are you going to have to step things up? If you show up to your relationships with your children, with your families, well rested, is that going to change some things? And are you ready for those changes? Because it does really change your identity as well. A couple of other things I want to talk about briefly. Research has shown that about 70% of our waking hours are spent on autopilot. So what that means is you are not mindful of what's going on with you. In my program, I talk about interoception and exteroception. Interoception is like what's going on inside of me. Extero is what's going on around me, in the situations around me, the people around me, the world around me. About 70% of time is actually spent in autopilot, where you are in survival mode and you are just responding and you are not thinking, you are not mindful, you are not in touch with how you're feeling. And 70% is the low end of research, okay? 70 to 90% is actually what research shows. So a lot of our time, we're really not even thinking about changing our behavior or doing anything different, because we're just doing what we've always done. We're repeating those cycles of behavior that have been building throughout our lifetime. People need to change their behavior and do things differently long enough for your body to respond. My program is 8 weeks. I did a sleep program for myself, and this was me just white knuckling it and not really having a clue what I was doing, but trying really freaking hard for 6 months. Yes, I saw improvements through that, but I also still kept doing my program throughout it. These are things that if you do them for one night or 2 nights, it's not going to change things. You have been developing your habits for years. Why would everything change in 4 days? It's not going to change in 4 days. You need to be doing these things ideally for a lifetime, but probably more realistically, really doing them for like 8 weeks. That is where the change is going to happen. It's like New Year's resolutions where people go to the gym and they're not ripped in 4 days. Well, it's like, yeah, clearly you need to probably be going for at least 2 to 3 months to even see any basic results. So make sure when you're doing new habits, but you need to do them long enough for your body to respond and for change to actually happen. Last thing I want to talk about is familiarity feels less scary than anything that's good for you. Everything I talked about is science-based, evidence-based. I'm not telling you about the greatest supplement that's not even FDA evaluated. Okay, that's not how I roll. That's never going to be how I roll. But I'm going to tell you the evidence-based things that can help with sleep habits and behaviors. I'm a mental health therapist. I'm not trained to diagnose sleep apnea or anything like that. So I'm staying in my lane. These kind of things, they're hard. And anything like that is a new behavior, it's going to feel scary. It's going to feel threatening. And anything that's familiar is going to feel a whole lot safer. We talked about a lot of things. Like I said, this is just the basics, but it is really important. And yes, changing your sleep is hard. Changing any habit is hard, but changing your sleep is really hard because of these factors that I talked about. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but it is difficult and it will take sustained work. And it will take you like actually working on things. I would love to help you change your sleep forever.